They say she still roams the halls in crimson, searching for something she lost in 1910. Her name was Martha Blackwell, and those who see her never forget. Close your eyes and let's escape. Montgomery, Alabama. Huntingdon College. The year was 1910. Martha Blackwell arrived at the college that autumn, clutching a single worn suitcase. She was different from the other girls, quieter, stranger. But what everyone noticed first was her obsession with the color red. Red ribbons in her hair, red gloves, red scarves. Everything she owned was stained in that deep crimson hue. The other students whispered behind her back. They called her peculiar, unsettling, a loner who wandered the campus alone, drifting through shadowed corridors like a ghost already dead. No one spoke to her. No one wanted to. As October bled into November, Martha withdrew further into herself. Her eyes grew hollow, her skin pale as moonlight. She stopped attending meals, stopped going to chapel. She became a shadow, fading, forgotten. Then one November night, she vanished completely. The next morning, a dormitory maid named Florence Green found her. Martha's room was locked from the inside. When they broke down the door, the sight waiting for them would scar Florence's mind forever. Martha lay in the center of the room, draped in her finest red gown. Her wrists were slashed. Blood pooled around her like a crimson lake, soaking into the floorboards, seeping into the very foundation of the building. But there was something else, something that made Florence scream. On the walls, written in blood, were the words, "I'm still here." They buried her quietly, shamefully. But Martha Blackwell, she never truly left. Within weeks, the terror began. It was Amelia Walsh, Martha's former roommate, who saw her first. Amelia had requested a room change weeks before Martha's death, unable to bear the girl's strange midnight whispers and cold stares. One night, Amelia woke to find someone standing at the foot of her bed. A woman in a red gown, dripping wet with something dark. The figure's head tilted slowly, unnaturally, like a puppet on broken strings. Amelia tried to scream, but no sound came. She was paralyzed, frozen in absolute terror. The woman in red leaned closer, closer, until Amelia could see her face. It was Martha, but her eyes were black, empty voids that seemed to swallow all light. Her mouth opened impossibly wide, and a voice like grinding glass whispered, "You left me alone." When Amelia blinked, the figure vanished. But in the morning, she found crimson handprints on her bedsheets. Wet, fresh. Amelia left the college that same day and never returned. In 1923, a student named Vincent Crawford was studying alone in the college library past midnight. The building was silent except for the ticking of an old clock. Then, from somewhere deep in the stacks, he heard footsteps. Slow, deliberate. The soft rustle of fabric dragging across the floor. Vincent called out. No answer. The footsteps stopped. He returned to his books, but the air had grown cold. His breath misted in front of him. Then he smelled it. Copper. Blood. He looked up to find a book sliding off the shelf by itself. Then another, and another. Books flew from the shelves, crashing to the floor around him. And there, at the end of the aisle, he saw her. Martha stood perfectly still, her red gown darker in some places than others. Her face was bone white, her eyes fixed on Vincent with an intensity that made his heart stop. She raised one pale hand and pointed directly at him. Vincent ran. He burst through the library doors and didn't stop until he reached his dormitory. But when he looked down at his shirt, he saw a crimson handprint over his heart, a print that wouldn't wash away for 3 days. The worst incident occurred in 1956. A group of students, including Patricia Moore and Helen Douglas, decided to hold a séance in Martha's old room. They wanted to contact her spirit, to ask if the stories were true. They shouldn't have. As they sat in a circle, candles flickering, the temperature plummeted. The candles went out, one by one. Then, in the darkness, they heard breathing. Ragged, wet, close. Helen screamed as something grabbed her wrist. When someone found the light switch, they saw finger-shaped bruises forming on her skin. Dark red, almost black. But that wasn't the worst part. Written on the mirror in condensation were words that chilled their blood. "Why did you let me die alone?" All 4 students fled the room, but for weeks afterward they reported the same nightmare. They'd wake to find Martha standing over them, her face inches from theirs, her mouth moving but no sound coming out. Just the overwhelming smell of blood and the feeling of cold, dead fingers brushing their cheeks. Even now, over a century later, the Red Lady still walks. Students report seeing her reflection in windows when no one is there. Security cameras capture a crimson figure drifting through locked hallways at 3 in the morning. The footage always corrupts, becoming static and screams. A custodian named Marcus Johnson quit in 2019 after encountering her in the basement. He described her eyes as empty wounds and said she reached for him with hands that dripped something dark onto the floor. When he returned the next day to collect his things, wet crimson footprints led from the basement to his locker. They say if you're alone on campus after midnight, you might see her. Martha Blackwell, the Red Lady, still wandering in her blood-soaked gown, still searching, still suffering, trapped in an eternity of isolation. And if you see her, don't run. She's faster than you think. Don't look away. She hates being ignored. And whatever you do, don't be alone. Because loneliness, it's exactly what she wants to share. The Red Lady still waits in the shadows of Huntingdon College. She's watching, always watching, and she remembers everyone who sees her. Will you be next? Stay safe, guys.